Hey. I said, excuse me, you don't understand where I'm at. I was all around the world, on span, across the map. I've been laying low and now it's time to pop up, bitch, I'm back. Now I'ma run it up. Snooze on the kid that you dumb or what? You better go get your numbers up. Now
Remember now, we're not here to judge anybody. We want to handle this with love, right? You want to tell him how his drug abuse has hurt you, maybe hurt himself. Okay, Harold, what time did you tell him to be here?
5 o'clock, but he's always late.
No, he'll be here. In 3, 2, 1.
Is this a 5 o'clock free crack giveaway?
Yep. Of course, the 5 o'clock free crack giveaway. Of course, we already know it's already passed. Unfortunately, sorry about that, Jasmine. I should have told you about it. I didn't let you know. But anyways, folks, how's it going? This is, of course, Tiffy stored in the background as usual. My best friend over there in the corner at the MCU'S Leading Edge YouTube channel and podcast with my co-host, Cyberneticshark, the veteran YouTuber and content creator. I am Jeff S, aka TrueKnowledge, the humbled co-host of the MCU'S Leading Edge YouTube channel and podcast. We have with us for the first time on the show, Jasmine, who, because I really hold it down as True Knowledge, don't even have all the information she gave me for my introduction of her. I don't even have it. So there you go. There you go, Jasmine. I'm just kidding. No, you know what, Jasmine, honestly, I'd rather just throw to you anyway and whatnot, and that you can go ahead and talk about your YouTube channel and whatnot and everything, and whatever you want to talk about real quick, and then we'll get into it. She-Hulk episode 1, baby.
All right. Well, I am the YouTuber of YouTube Now 03. I do reaction videos, makeup tutorials, whatever. And I'm a big DC Marvel fan, so let's get into it.
Excellent. I love it. Shark, how are you doing tonight, brother?
I am good, sir. How are you?
Well, you know what? I'm doing okay. I'm loving it. I'm telling you right now. We got She-Hulk episode 1. It was a great episode. We got Bruce Banner, the Hulk, back up in the house, right? And hey, if the rumors are true, maybe we're going to have him in the MCU for a while, potentially. We'll have to see, right? Maybe we can talk about that a little bit later. But, folks, we're going to be doing our She-Hulk episode 1 review and breakdown this Friday evening because of the shift, what is it? What is the Star Wars series called, Cyber?
Andor,
because the Andor, they changed the release dates of like these episodes. So we're doing them on Friday instead of Wednesday. And I'll tell you, I did a segment on the Gerald Glassford's Pop Culture Cosmos podcast yesterday, and he had some things to say about it that weren't positive, and some that were positive. I'll mention that too. But just to point out real quick, we've got Andrew from Geek News Now Network, the staff writer and podcaster, coming on later on in the show. But this is pretty much the team. And, this is going to be a great series. We got 8 episodes. Looks like we're working with what? 30, 32, 35-minute episodes or something like that, I think. And you guys tell me, Jasmine, what do you think? I mean, kind of to start off kind of an interesting way, why don't you just rate the episode now? Like, what would you give it at, 1 to 10?
I'll definitely give it a 9.5.
Oh, shit.
There was a little bit of a pacing issue. And when it was going through the episode, you kind of felt like something was missing. But they recovered really quickly.
Okay. And you didn't, as far as the pacing went, Did you mean sort of how quick things went?
Yes, the episode felt like it was it was more like filler, real quick. Interesting filler, the way they did it in the structure. But by the time everything started to really kick off in the courtroom, which the episode started on, it was over.
Yeah, it was a pretty quick episode. What do you think, Cyber? I know it's weird to like throw a rating out to start the show off, but what would you give it as the first episode?
I give it a 10.
Damn, y'all are on some like as high on some She-Hulk, I think. Cyber, why are you gonna give it a 10?
All because of Bruce Banner.
There you go. There, nice. The chemistry between the two actors, the actor, the actress, and the characters are great. It was great.
Yeah, that whole montage with them and him trying to teach her about being a Hulk, that was absolute pure gold. And that alone, and then just some of the lines Bruce said, it was gold. So that's why I give it a 10.
They're both talented actors and actresses. It's that simple. They're very talented, and I think that's part of the reason why Sarah Finn cast what's her name? I forget.
Tatiana Maslany.
Yeah, because I think that she knew that she was capable of working with other actors and actresses, having good chemistry with them and whatnot. She's that type of actress. She's that talented, and like almost I guess Bruce. I mean, Mark Ruffalo has the similar kind of qualities as an actor. He's definitely a team player, but they had a great dynamic. And I'll tell you right now, I'll give it a 9. I'll give it a solid 9, which I think for a finale is a pretty damn high score. Personally, I think it's a lot. There's a lot of episodes of other series I would never give a 9. But okay,
Pilot? You mean pilot?
Yeah,
not finale.
Look, I wouldn't have given I'm sorry, not finale, premiere or pilot. Yes,
there you go. Yeah.
I wouldn't have given the WandaVision first episode a 9. Probably, I don't think. Maybe like a 8 or 8.5 or something. Either way. So, while we wait for Andrew to come on, real quick, I don't like to do a lot of plugging, folks, but before we break into the episode and crack out the review, real quick, we'd love it if you would help me and Cyber reach the 3,000 subscriber mark, because you know what? Me and Cyber would absolutely just love it. It would be awesome. So you know what? Come on now. Help us out. If you dig our content and shit and whatnot, if you enjoy our guests like Jasmine and whatnot that are so wonderful and talented and attractive, at that point, you need to make sure you subscribe. It's that simple. Look, Cyber busted out his She-Hulk green screen shit. It looks dope as fuck. That's for you. Just to be clear. So please subscribe. We love all of you. Love the fandom. So, She-Hulk episode 1, to connect off of what Jasmine said about the pacing, is interesting how it starts off, as far as the fact that they have a conversation. There's a conversation right off the bat about Steve Rogers not having a girlfriend before he became Cap, I think, or was it in the war? That she was talking to her law firm buddies or whatever, or coworkers.
You're talking about that. Go ahead.
Basically, what she was saying was he was very busy in his entire span of the MCU, so he had no time.
Oh, he never got laid. Yeah.
Yeah. Which I agree.
Well, yeah. I mean, I never thought I always figured he was a virgin. So I guess we'll talk later on about the end credits, or whatever, mid credits. Go ahead, Jasmine.
I feel like it's definitely a Steve Rogers was pressured while drunk, and he came up with something. Because if they're trying to push this narrative of him going back in time to be with Peggy, it had to be him being drunk and feeling peer pressure.
You tell me, Jasmine. Steve loved Peggy so much, right? You think Steve's game was probably so weak that he was on some 1 minute come from a blowjob type deal? He was straight Captain America. He was first Avenger.
I don't think so, because of the whole super serum.
Oh. Good point.
So I don't think he would definitely be a Minuteman.
There you go.
But definitely. I also don't think he gave off very good boy.
Well, I love Captain America, so I gotta believe that Cap can handle his business in the bedroom, virgin or not. That's Cap, baby.
Yeah,
Same thing
but
with-
I feel like he just didn't want to cheat on Peggy because he was so in love with her. And the most I've seen him do is kiss. Even like Black Widow was like, "Is that your first kiss since back in the day?"
Yeah, and they didn't even have romantic chemistry like, at all. They didn't even like, they were just buddies. But so it kind of again alludes sort of off of what Jasmine said about, I guess, the pacing. The episode starts off pretty quickly. It runs pretty quickly. Starts off again in court,
Kitty.
and you get introduced like sort of
Put him
to
away.
Jennifer Walters as a lawyer,
Yes,
kind of firm,
lock him away.
and we end up with essentially coming off of that, Bruce and Jennifer in a car and being, I guess, almost like thrown off by a Sakaar ship that then
Yeah.
from jump
Party cruiser.
causes, in a car accident to where that's how we end up getting, instead of the transfusion, we get the mixing of Bruce's blood with Jennifer's and whatnot due to injury. And right from jump, Jennifer hulks out the first time, like almost instantly. And from there, essentially, we end up with her at like a random bar. She goes through some woods and some forest and whatnot. It's now nighttime, and trying to kind of like find her bearings and whatnot and everything and get home or whatever. Ends up getting harassed by some like drunk dudes. Goes Hulk
They
again.
were sober.
Oh, they're sober. Throws down with them, and from there, I'll get into like where we end up next in a minute. But Cyber, what did you take out of that, and what do you think about the fact that they decided to go ahead and throw that Sakaar ship into the episode like that? What do you think that means in terms of like Hulk for the MCU too?
I mean, throwing in the Sakaar ship, that really kind of was like, interesting that somebody from Sakaar would come down. Like, who was left on Sakaar that would want to come down? Because majority of the people that were left there, I feel, were like, Ravager type of people that were just like, scavengers. So I didn't feel like there's going to be left on Sakaar that was like of any nobleness. Like everyone that was noble got on that ship and left Sakaar. So it will be interesting to see just where that takes it, if that plays into further down the series. But the fact that they had it where Bruce's blood gets on Jennifer and makes her turn into the Hulk, I think that was an interesting take. Because I honestly don't remember from the comics how she ended up becoming the Hulk. But I believe that's very similar to what happened. But
Blood transfusion.
It was. Okay. So it was similar, but they took it where she was in a car crash, and that's how it happened. And I mean, automatically right at the get-go, she turns into it. That was really cool. I thought it was, that they didn't shy away from showing her transfer, so quickly to the series. And then that whole bar sequence was absolutely hilarious, especially those girls that come in. They're like, "Oh, what did he do to you? He doesn't deserve you," and this and that. They're trying to fix her up and put the makeup on and put her into that outfit. Was absolutely priceless. And what was the question about the Hulk again?
What do you think that the element of dropping the Sakaar ship into the episode like that with Bruce and like with the Hulk, what do you think that signals us in the fandom about what Hulk's future or Bruce Banner's future might be in the MCU long term, especially taking into consideration, of course, the rumors recently and whatnot that have been going on about the fact that potentially maybe Marvel Studios does have the film rights, to the Hulk at this point or whatever and whatnot. Universal doesn't have them anymore potentially, and that maybe they might even sign a contract with them. What do you think about, where we go with that?
I mean, honestly, I feel that we're going to be getting more Bruce Banner down the line. I don't think we've seen the last of Mark Ruffalo at all, especially because with that, because the Hulk is an all CGI character, Mark Ruffalo can still play the character outside of being his normal self as he gets older. He can still do the CGI work. So I feel like they can still use him very vitally. And the Hulk is just such a vital character to, Marvel in general that you just can't get rid of the Hulk. He's a very integral part of the MCU to date. And he really hasn't gotten like 100% proper, really standalone film. I mean, yeah, a lot of people hate, a lot of people love the one that came out in 2008, which I'm one of those people. I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. But we haven't had one with Ruffalo solely as Mr. Hulk. So I feel that they still kind of like what they did with Black Widow, giving her that kind of like transition story there after the fact they killed her off, which still mind boggles me. But at the same time, it's like I have a feeling that we're going to see him a lot more because his scientific background is a huge part to helping out the Avengers, out on any superheroes that are in the MCU as well. So he can play both parts. Even if he's not Hulk, he can still be Bruce Banner doing stuff in the background. So I feel that Mark Ruffalo probably already has a long-term contract that he hasn't made public.
Okay. So you think that they've already locked him down?
Yeah.
Okay.
Most definitely.
All right. What do you think, Jasmine? What do you think about that whole introductory, scenes that I just dropped out right there, going into the car accident and whatnot, and then hurt the bar? Before we get to the lab and Mexico and all that and whatnot, that right before that.
I was dying for you to say something. All right. So when it comes to that scene, the reason they bring in the Sakaar ship is because it is the party ship from Ragnarok. Now, with that being tied in, that means that he's already had a son with a wife. He was gone for 2 years. So that's probably either his son looking for him or his wife looking for him.
You're talking about Sakaar or whatever from the comics. Son.
Yeah, he has a wife named Sakaar, and that's to do with Planet Hulk, which they kind of merged in with the Ragnarok story.
Yeah, you're right.
So that has to do with him having a wife already. Now, if you put that together, that kind of means they're going for a World War Hulk situation.
So, would you rather see a World War Hulk situation, or would you rather see the Wolverine Hulk film that a lot of the fans want to see?
A lot of the fans want to see a proper introduction with current Mark Ruffalo, and me as well. But I loved how they interlaced some of the Edward Norton scene into this. Like when the blood dripped on that guy's cut forehead and his head started to get bigger, they kind of introduced that as canon instead of it just being a film that they made and they never referenced to. So with his wound dripping into hers and she instantaneously starts to react, it's a great callback.
Okay.
And it explains why with that lethal dose, I think they're kind of going for a Miss Marvel type of situation, in my opinion. With instead of She-Hulk and Hulk being more, radioactive area, more they're trying to go mutants with a lot of stuff retconning. That's why I feel like they're going with that, because it's a lot of the stuff that they're retconning with the MCU is like a slip in to make mutants a thing without having to explain how they're here.
Are you talking about Miss Marvel?
Yes.
Okay. I get where you're coming from with that. So as far as episode 1 goes, and I guess, what you talked about as far as, I apologize, as far as I guess the flow or the, maybe how things were a little quick in the episode and whatnot and everything. Did you not like how they flushed out her origin story so quickly like that and whatnot and just threw it at us?
No, I liked it. I just felt like they could have dragged it out a little bit more because it felt like scenes were cut. Like it went from her being She-Hulk to her just being human again. And they're meditating instead of explaining how she became calm or having her go calm or her going to sleep or it being the next day. They didn't do any of that. It
Yeah.
just kind of felt like something was missing.
Yeah,
A little bit of storytelling. They do that a lot though throughout the episode.
yeah, that's a good point. I mean, they didn't really. Bruce wasn't really able to establish in any kind of scientific way how it was possible for her to actually be able to go back to her human form like that and whatnot and everything.
He was also surprised when it did happen, and he just like, oh my god. So during that scene where she was She-Hulk, she must have went to sleep at some point, and then she was She-Hulk, and then they go from that little meditation thing to her being asleep, and then him waking her up with a bullhorn. The following scene, the scene felt very choppy.
So, I guess you tell me, Cyber. I think that they did a good job flushing everything out like that quick, and just wrapping it, just throwing it right at us and whatnot, and putting it in a 30-minute, 32-minute long episode. Right? I loved it that they did it like that way. They could have overdone it. You know what I mean? It was pretty well done.
Yeah, I mean, I feel they could have made it a little longer. They could have made it like 45 minutes. And that could have maybe flushed it out a little better. Because I get where Jasmine's coming from, where it felt like things were cut out or they condensed it all into one section too quickly, is what I feel she's getting at. And so I feel I get where that's coming from. I feel they still did a good job of how they did it as well. But yeah, I definitely agree that I feel it should have been longer so that it would have been extended out a little better. Because that was a lot of information to pack into 37 minutes. So it would have been nice to have seen a little bit more, like from the time she left, to the time she's attorney again too. There was a lot of question there that there could have been a little bit more to that to give you more of an idea of what was going on too as well. So yeah, I definitely feel that they did a good job, but it could have been a little longer.
That's what Gerald basically was talking about yesterday when we did that segment. He was basically just like, I don't like how they just immediately rushed us right through everything. Like they didn't establish like her actual life as Jennifer Walters as a lawyer at all. You know what I mean? They just threw us from jump. You know what I'm saying? He didn't like that. He didn't like that they rushed it like that. And but he did also at the same time really dig the chemistry and the dynamic with Bruce and Jennifer. That usually high on that. So essentially, as you already know, we end up in Mexico. Bruce rescued her from the bar basically and whatnot and everything, and she wakes up like on a couch, I believe. And this basically is in Mexico. This is the actual like home and lab where Bruce explains during the blip he actually put his work in to transition over into like Professor Hulk and like and merge whatever he did or whatever and whatnot between Hulk and himself to where he ended up where he's at. And explained that, and again, some very cool Avengers nostalgia, like some fan service and shit and whatnot. Mentioned Tony. We got Steve Rogers, and we got Tony Stark, and him talking about Tony. Tony helped them build it. He built the bar with them. You get this like really cool vibe from like Bruce and Jennifer, where Jennifer knows the stories of them from Bruce. Like it's obvious that Bruce talks about them. You know what I mean? You get like how close they were as Avengers, like the friendships that they had. And like it's interesting. And hey, I guess that's part of how cool it is to have these originals as Avengers like Hawkeye and Hulk to be able to pop up in these Disney Plus series. They bring that to the table. They bring all that history, and those connections and whatnot. And so we end up at that point essentially with Jennifer, human being Jennifer Walters. She's not She-Hulk. And Hulk explains to her basically that because of the mixing of the blood, she's a Hulk now. I mean, essentially. And she's been exposed to, high levels of gamma radiation. And they have, I guess, some sort of genetic bond or like family bond or whatever, whatnot, to where I guess her blood is able to absorb or like, I think I wrote down the actual word, but she's able to handle the gamma radiation and whatnot and everything and live with it and survive. And essentially, that's what he uses, I think, right, to heal his arm. coming off of, when he snapped, and explains to her essentially that, she's going to be a Hulk, and puts her. I didn't really totally understand the experiment he did with her in the lab, where he put her in like that almost cell with the headgear on and whatnot and everything, and she hulked out, and then got
He
pissed off.
basically was trying to see if stress or anger was the reason for her.
To trigger her transformations. Yes. Okay.
But for her, it was both. She just immediately went from stress to anger and like.
Yes. Most
flip
definitely.
of a switch.
That's right, and she does, and she rips the door off and everything and whatnot, and like flips out. She hulks out for a minute, and like growls like a Hulk, for a minute and whatnot, which I thought was really funny and really neat that she did that. And then right after that, it just starts talking normal, and of course,
well, she started talking normal because of the fact that he was acting like she was a stray horse, and she was more shocked. She was like, "What the hell?" And so that's why.
Well, Bruce cannot believe that she's able to actually maintain her human form as a Hulk. And that really throws her off and whatnot and everything. He can't believe it. I really enjoyed those scenes too. I thought they were great. And essentially, they both share the ability to synthesize the gamma radiation in their blood. Basically, yes. So essentially, Bruce can't believe it. That on her own, something, like something he couldn't pull off, she's able to actually literally go back to her human form. And from there, we basically get into, the reality that essentially, at that point, I think it's obvious that with She-Hulk and with Jennifer, she doesn't have the rage. Like, she doesn't have the Hulk rage shit going on or whatever and whatnot. Like, she's got it in control. She's not out there like, she's just not looking to like crush and smash shit.
Well, yeah, because of the background of like the Hulk's origin story of how he has suppressed anger and never dealt with on a regular basis because of the abuse of his family members.
Well, yeah, I don't think they're ever really going to completely flush out or explain how she's able to like pull off this version of Hulk.
Well, they explained it. They explained it quite well. They said that due to the fact that she's a woman in the 21st century, and between being catcalled on a regular basis, like she was outside the club, and having people, basically upset her while being a lawyer, having people mansplain and womansplain her job, which she's obviously qualified for. So if you're having people constantly spit facts at you that you already know, like you don't know it, you have to either keep yourself in check in order to keep your job, or lose it and lose your job. So you basically, she processes her anger all the time in healthy ways.
I get what you're saying, but at the same time, that's not how the whole thing works. Like the reason
that's
that,
what
like,
she's telling, that's what she was explaining.
Oh no, I know that. No, I get that, but like from the comics, like with Hulk, there's something different there. Where with Hulk, like he literally becomes like an animal. You know what I mean? Like he loses all. He's literally like a beast. She doesn't seem to have that same vibe at all.
Yeah, that's what she was saying. It's because his the Hulk, the part of it is anger. Anger is what makes them rage out.
Oh, I heard. Yeah, no, I know what happened in the scene. No, I know.
No. I mean, in general, even in the comics, that's why he is the Hulk rages out, is because he gave it another identity, that suppressed feelings, those emotions he suppressed for all those years, and then was hit with that gamma radiation without processing it, immediately made him an alter ego. That's why it's even on the file he rips out, it even says alter ego on it.
Okay. Well, before we, cutting off there, before we get into any of the training and whatnot and everything, and those great scenes and whatnot between, between Bruce and Jennifer, sort of, I guess, flushing out what's going to end up happening with her, what she's going to do. If you want to keep on going, Jasmine, what was your take on just that whole, I guess, extended scene almost, where they're at the hideout or like the lab and whatnot and everything? What did you take out of that? right? And then I'll go to you, Cyber.
Are you asking? Wait, what are you?
What are your thoughts on that whole scene with her waking up at the house in Mexico, going through the lab experience, the conversations with Bruce about her blood and everything and whatnot and everything, the experiment?
Well, when it came to her being there, I felt like there was some time lapse issues because how do you get from California all the way to Mexico without her waking up? Like, how hard did he hit her in order? Like, how hard was she knocked out, or was it the stress of turning into the Hulk for the first time? On top of that, I love the detail in the background as she woke up and walked through the house. We had a Ultron bot head from when Ultron first woke up, sitting on a stand. We had the Ragnarok Hulk suit in the corner hanging up. It was just nice to see little callbacks to different Avengers films or movies that he's appeared in, just sitting there as like little Easter eggs. They did the same thing with having an actual Ally McBeal doll in her office.
Okay.
So it's nice to see that. And when they did the what's it called? The simple simulation. That was cool because of the fact that it showed how he kind of trained himself to see how everything showed up for him, and then seeing how quickly it reacted for her. Like, it was instantaneous, while sometimes he gets battered around a little bit or had to get like really set on the edge and angry.
Sure.
So it's like it had to be really emotional. Like, he didn't even change after the car wreck until after he saw his cousin turn. And then his emotions went all over the place and he turned into a Hulk. So it's nice to see the difference in levels for them.
Yeah, yes, it is. It's an interesting contrast. Cyber, what did you take out of that scene before we go into what I guess would probably be the highlight, I guess, of the episode? The actual training, the quasi superhero training, stuff with Bruce. What did you think of the whole lab scene? What did you think of the fan service and the callbacks to like Tony Stark and like Steve Rogers and whatnot in the episode?
I really enjoyed it. I thought they did a good job with it, and I love the throwbacks to all the different things that they threw back to other parts of the MCU films and so forth. And I just really enjoyed the whole banter between them. I love how he's like starting to explain what happened to her, and she gets all of a sudden like, I'm gonna die from the radiation. And he's like, oh no, you didn't let me explain. And then he keeps going on. That was really good. And then just leading up into, him saying, I need to do tests and stuff like that before you can leave. And that I need to teach you how to do things and stuff like that. And she's like, okay, you can do that. And then go into that, scene where he's trying to test her rage or anger, causes her with the helmet thing on in the chamber. It was really good. I mean, she hulks out completely and like tears off the door and throws it. And I love how he's like, that's $1,000 worth of damage or so, $1 million worth of damage. That was super funny.
It looked like one of those old school popcorn poppers out of her fucking head.
Yeah, yeah. And it just was a really good banter altogether and just really fun and enjoyable. And all the little things, if you notice when she comes out of the room that she's in after she puts on the Led Zeppelin shirt and outfit, she actually touches a Tony Stark head. If you notice, it's a helmet that is like made into a statue, which was really fun too. So
that was actually Ultron. That was actually Ultron.
That looked like a Tony Stark helmet, though.
It was because all his suits were usually destroyed, unless that was from like Ultron 3. That'd be the only time I could see him actually having a mask that was like still around.
Well, I mean, he made other helmets up to even Infinity War, so I mean, he could have had one lying around. But anyways, yeah. So we saw that like Iron Man looking statue, which was really cool. And overall, I just thought it was really good. It was really fun, and it was a great way to introduce us to the next section.
Yeah, most definitely. And I think that, and we'll talk about this later on in the review. I think that the entire, I guess, vibe of the show, like the series itself, and like what I think we're going to get out of the series, in terms of something different again from Marvel, like quasi WandaVision, you know what I mean? Like, just something different flavor, quasi Loki, something different to work with, right? What if, something different. And but being done very well, almost, if that makes sense. In terms of how effective the humor is. You know what I mean? She broke the fourth wall, like what, 2 or 3 times in the episode from the comics, right? And it was great the way she did it too. It was very natural. It was very organic when she did it. Like, it wasn't forced. It wasn't stupid. You know what I mean? She did it. She pulled it off. And it was like good. It was like she had charisma. She was funny. She's great as She-Hulk. She really is. I mean, she's awesome as She-Hulk, I think. I thought the CGI looked dope too. It really did. The people who were bitching about the CGI, they did a good job with her in the episode. So coming out the lab. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. Trailers. I forgot. I passed up on them last time. Let me play the trailers. Trailers, folks. She-Hulk trailers 1 and 2.
Wow! Jeez, what the hell, man?
Still in control, no overwhelming feelings of rage.
No! A normal amount of rage!
You do revert back to Gen form when you sleep.
Was the air horn really necessary?
For comedy, absolutely. This is a multi-year journey you're about to embark on.
Yes!
Yeah. Who's your best friend?
Nikki.
Spandex. Spandex is your best friend. Being a Hulk asks for balance. You have so much more to learn. Yes!
So I'm clearly nailing it at all these things.
If you want to go back to your life as a lawyer, I respect that.
He doesn't mean that.
More and more eccentric superhumans are coming out of the woodwork. We're going to launch a division for them. And I want the She-Hulk to be the face of it.
Jennifer Waters. Namaste.
I have a serious conflict of interest. This man tried to kill my cousin, Bruce.
Yeah, that's quite all right.
Oh. People only care because I'm representing Emil Blonsky. I think they care because they're like, hey, that girl's great. Jen, do your thing. God, I really like this outfit. I'm not proud of this.
Miss Walters, we answer to a higher power. Our universe is on the edge of a precipice.
I am a lawyer. We do things by the book.
The Book of Ashanti.
No, the Book of American laws.
Whether you like it or not, you're now a superhero.
Let's do this. You know that friend you had in high school who was way cooler than you were, attractive, got all the attention from everyone? Hello.
I think I'm jealous. Is that what I'm feeling? Being a superhero is a trial by fire. Who's gonna protect the world if not people like you?
I'm Jennifer Walters. I'm a lawyer. I have great friends. Can we get some shots, please? It's an emergency. A demanding job.
We just started a superhuman law division, and I want you to be the face of it.
And a frustrating family.
Because we didn't ask for this. but you still got to deal with it. Your transformations are triggered by anger and fear.
Those are like the baseline of any woman just existing.
Oh.
Bruce, kind of feels like if I don't transform, I'm gonna die.
Yes, yes, yes. No, no.
I just want to be a normal, anonymous lawyer.
Can you tell us where She-Hulk is?
Jen, you're a story now.
Girl, your ass looks crazy right now. You could be an Avenger.
Oh, I'm not a superhero. That is for billionaires and narcissists and adult orphans for some reason. Is there anything more depressing than dating in your 30s?
Yeah, this is the best date I've had in a while.
Oh.
Should we split some fries?
Let's get those to go.
Okay, show trailers. Really quick, going to you, Cyber, then to you, Jasmine. Before we get into the next segment of the episode, what did you get out of the trailers? I guess quickly when you first saw them, and then seeing them now after we got the first episode under our belt. Cyber, where are you at with them now? Like, I mean, what do you think about the whole, what you saw in them and whatnot and everything? Besides how awesome Daredevil is that he's in the series.
I mean, they are just as good as when I first saw them. They're just as good as now. Definitely shown that this is going to be a really fun show, that it's going to be super comedy and super funny. And there's some great scenes. I mean, that scene where she's having the dinner with the guy, she's like, we should get some fries. And she's like, how about we get those to go? And then they show her and she's like lifting them up. That was super hilarious. I mean, just everything about these trailers were just super fun. And I find them just as enjoyable now as I did then.
Most definitely. And again, I love the fact that Blonsky and the Abomination is in the series. It's awesome. I mean, it looks like we're going to have some really interesting characters. Wong, that scene with Wong is great. It's very funny. What do you think, Jasmine? What do you think of the trailers?
I love the trailers. They were just as good as when I saw them. I'm very excited about this show. It's giving me very much comedy. It's giving me very much Alec McBeal, which is great because that's what they said inspired the show. And it gives me a lot of excitement because we kind of need more variety when it comes to the MCU in general, because it feels kind of one note lately. But since Phase 4 was like flipping that on its head, giving everybody a little bit of different genre. A lot of people said they didn't like it, but I'm living for it. I like it. I like being surprised.
Dude, what did you think of seeing Daredevil pop up like that and freaking in costume and everything and whatnot?
I already know a lot about what's going on in this, so when he showed up, it just confirmed what I already knew. Back when they were like, "Oh, we're doing this show," I was like, "There's no way they're not gonna have him in here because, oh come on, he's a lawyer. He's a lawyer too. If this is a lawyer show, he has to be in it." So when I saw him, I screamed. Of course, I was. My arms were in the air, but I was like, "That's a different suit." I was like, "That's the yellow and red one." So I love
the original. The original. That is the original Daredevil suit, essentially. That color scheme is from the original Daredevil from the comic books, basically. And so, yeah, I mean, all I can really say about the trailers, I mean, I agree with you, Jasmine, and I think Cyber feels the same way, that this series has a lot of potential. It's got 8 full episodes to go. So, we're not going to go ahead and call it the best things in sliced bread off of episode 1, but I'm very optimistic about it. I like what I've seen so far, and I don't see how it's not going to get better with the Abomination and Tim Roth and Charlie Cox and Daredevil and everything, Titania, and everything, in the series. So, all right, as far as the rest of the episode goes, what we end up with in terms of the whole dichotomy of, I guess, almost the focal point of the episode, what makes it probably the best aspect of it for me, I think, that chemistry, that dynamic between She-Hulk and Bruce. He starts to train her essentially under the premise that she's going to be a superhero Hulk, like him, essentially, basically, right? Like, follow his same footsteps, essentially. Still, I guess, not grasping this, maybe not, not really getting that she is a different kind of Hulk. She's not, the Incredible Hulk or whatever. So, I mean, I'm not gonna like really go crazy detailed in terms of how the training goes down. I mean, we all saw it. It was we saw some of it in the trailer, and you get Jen's attitude, Jennifer's attitude, like with Bruce in their conversations, in their back and forth, sort of, as far as wanting to go back and be a lawyer. Why wouldn't she go back to her real life? She doesn't want to be a superhero. You know what I mean? She doesn't want to be a Hulk. And Bruce essentially focusing on, all of these like really philosophical and like core elements that were a part of his process throughout being a Hulk, and like he feels like he has to impart back onto her. At the same time, really pushing the trope on her that like, as a Hulk, you're a superhero. That's what you are. That's what you do. Like that's what you're about. If anything, like what would you do? So basically, we get some like, sort of cute and Hulkish type of like exercises and shit, and like rock throwing and whatnot and everything, and jumping and everything, all typical hype, Hulk type jazz, powers and whatnot. And she looked good. She looked good doing everything. She looked great jumping with Hulk and everything and whatnot. And she's definitely, to me, she seemed like she was like really sort of like right below his power level almost as Professor Hulk, if not the same. Like she didn't seem like she was really that much less stronger than he was, or or less capable. But essentially, we get that great scene where he pushes her off the cliff and she flips him off. Now I love that. That was great. I mean, seriously, that like I just think that's like perfect for the character and perfect for the actress and whatnot, for her to pull that off like that. She swore a couple times in the episode. She did, I think, 2 or 3 times. Where she cussed and swore, but you don't see a lot of that in this Disney Plus episode, the series and whatnot. She broke the 4th wall right at that point. I think twice at that point during the training, and essentially, as they go back and forth, and Hulk is sort of imparting on her, the things that he's had to like learn to become like where he's at essentially through his evolution. They sort of hit a wall in terms of the fact that, Jennifer is very not stubborn, but like very logical about the fact that like, hey, she's just a lawyer, and she's not him. She's not his kind of Hulk. He does, of course, then pass on to her like, I guess the one of the cool parts about like being a Hulk in terms of the drinking and being able to drink as much booze as you want and not get like hammered or whatever off of it or whatever, which was sort of like a la Captain America, Steve Rogers in a way, except he couldn't even get drunk at all. I don't think.
No,
his metabolism was what like wouldn't allow it. But essentially, besides, I guess, the booze and everything and whatnot, and then, the Hulk training and everything, we end up with Jen wanting to essentially leave and take off and be like, screw you, Bruce. I'm going back to my life. I'm going to be a lawyer. I don't have to be She-Hulk all the time. I can be regular, normal Jennifer Walters. I don't need all this. And there's still love between them. You know what I mean? Like, there is. Like, you can tell that they're family and they know each other and they care about each other and whatnot, There's just a little bit of, almost like cattiness between them in a way.
Yes.
You know, at that point, Hulk physically stops the vehicle from her leaving, and we get, I guess, what you would call like a light-hearted altercation or like throwdown with Jennifer's She-Hulk and like Bruce's Hulk, Professor Hulk really kind of holding back. And we see her actually try to fight, legitimately fight. And she has to do one of those thunderclaps. Doesn't work. Takes it a couple times, gets it. And from there, I'll cut it right there essentially and go into like, you know, how things flush out before she goes back to the courtroom. Jasmine, what I know it's a lot. I know it's a lot to like, you know, to dive into. That's a big part of that. The small, you know, the not very long, you know, 32-minute episode or whatever that thrown at you. But what did you like about that dichotomy between Bruce and Jennifer, Hulk and She-Hulk, and the exercises, the training, the Hulk training, the fight, you know, the whole thing.
All right. Going from that, I felt it was very natural. It felt like a brother-sister dynamic. So having them be cousins was perfect. You know, just like in the comics was perfect because it felt natural. It felt very petty and vindictive a little bit because of the fact that he was jealous of how easy she was able to do everything. But from what we saw in the trailer, she does yoga. So it's not hard for her to be able to be more bendy. But I did like that she was mocking him from how he growled when he leapt and landed. And so she said, men, you know, teasing him. And he was just like, I hate you. Or her talking about the fact that they were meditating and she was talking about about getting a tight butt, and he's like, ew, you're my cousin. Like, I like this. I like the little wordplay and the way that it felt so natural for them to have this relationship. It felt like we've known her for years type of situation because of how well it's written and how well they're cast. Perfect. Watching her fall off the cliff and flip him off, and it's not blurred out. Perfect. Watching the difference between the Hulk and Jennifer when she gets in the morning when she has a hangover because he never turns back into Banner, so he never gets that hangover the next day. So you get that difference between them. It's nice because you get to learn each character, learn how they are, and with her wanting to leave after she basically aced all her tests, was very much a lawyer, you know, getting her job done and then wanting to go home after she did all her paperwork. They did a really good job at establishing who she is and what kind of person she is. I like that.
As Jennifer Walters.
Yeah, it's Jennifer Walters. Her as She-Hulk seems basically like she's still Jen, but with like a muscular model physique. Like she still feels like the same character.
Sure, most definitely. And what are your thoughts, Cyber? What did you take out of that section of the episode and whatnot that I know was a big chunk of the whole chemistry, you know, part of like Bruce and Jennifer's sort of dynamic, right?
Yep. I mean, it showed you that you could tell they were family and that they, you know, had a previous relationship basically, you know, and how they talked to each other, like the funny names they gave each other. He kept calling her Fuzzball and stuff like that. She called him names too. So you could definitely tell they had a relationship, and you could tell they were, you know, related to each other. And so I feel that kind of that grasp was trying to give you an idea of who Jennifer was or how Jessica is, and or Jennifer's, I was right, Jennifer, how Jennifer is and how she is completely different than Bruce is. And so her alter ego of the She-Hulk would definitely be a different approach than his version of the Hulk, because his past is different than hers and so forth and so like that. I think that's really what that was trying to establish, that whole sequence, and showing that, yeah, we're dealing with a completely different, beast here, and that it's going to be different than what you're used to. And that's also, I think, another reason why Marvel's decided to bring She-Hulk to give us another Hulk, but a different angle of a Hulk, to show you that not all Hulks are the same. So I think that was a smart idea by them. And also, I think that's what made this scene really work well, and how their dynamic is, and how that's going to play throughout the TV series as well.
Sure, and I think that I'm not trying to be premature. I guess I could save this at the end of the review, but I think it's pretty clear just off this one episode that she belongs in the Avengers, like without question. You know what I mean? Like the idea of them doing the Avengers and her not being on the team would be just ridiculous at this point. You know what I'm saying? I mean, she's that good, I think. If anything, I'm kind of interested in, intrigued at what sort of dynamic she'll have in the Avengers when we get to that point. I'm intrigued about the entire aspect of what we have to work with in phase 4 and phase 5 and phase 6, becoming in the Avengers out of that. What that's going to look like, right? It's going to be interesting. And fun. But essentially, I guess for me, I'm taking it. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we see Mark Ruffalo's Bruce Banner Hulk maybe once or twice in the series still, but in very short stints, if we see him at all. You guys, I'm sure you guys have your own opinions on that. I'm just figuring that I sort of went into it believing that we'd probably get one full episode of them, sort of but him mentoring her or whatever, helping her out and whatnot, teaching her. We get that, and then that would be kind of the gist of it.
That was supposed to be episode 8. They decided to restructure it because they felt like having that be the last episode of that montage felt kind of out of place for those who are just coming into the character via the movies or the TV show itself.
Cool. And I think that there's going to be plenty of characters and plenty of different superheroes and villains, obviously, with Titania and whatnot, that are going to emerge in the series to fill out the series. But I'll tell you that when we get to the point where basically Bruce sort of comes to the understanding of where Jennifer is at, where She-Hulk's at, in terms of that she has to go back to her life as a lawyer. She's not the same Hulk as him. She's her own person. He understands that, it's sort of bitter, when he says it, but he gets it. And she does go back to her life. As, again, bouncing off Jasmine, right back into the courtroom in a case, I guess doing the final, what is it called? What part of that is that during a trial? The
closing argument.
Closing arguments, yes. And essentially, friggin' Titania walks in, man. And she is, I believe, Jamil.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, we get no information about it at all. She just comes in the court and starts kicking ass and breaking shit and whatnot. And we get this really, really cute sort of scene where, Jennifer's friend is telling you gotta it's game time. You gotta go, you gotta Hulk out now. And you see cute Jennifer, she with her little, with her sort of frizzy hair and whatnot and everything. She looks so different than She-Hulk. She's meeker, almost. You know what I mean? And it's game time, and we get her hulking out and taking on Titania and sort of handling her business with her quick. And again, they didn't really give Titania much to work with. Which is another thing Gerald was pissed off about, was that they threw Titania in there with no backstory or anything to work with, which I get, would have a problem with that. But I know about Titania, Jasmine.
Well, they basically cut a lot of the 8th episode and put it throughout the rest of the season.
Sure.
So basically, we'll know more about her. This was just kind of
oh, of course, yeah.
But it felt fast.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. And I mean, she is a villain from the comics that like became like almost like an anti-hero, and she does fit into the whole Secret Wars, part of the comics and whatnot and everything as a character. But very quick scene, important scene. It wasn't very long. It took maybe 5 minutes or 4 minutes, and that was pretty much it. And great music. I love the track. I love the song. I don't know who that was that they played. She's That Girl or whatever. It was great. I loved it. It was great. And basically, we then get that end credit scene or mid credit scene where I guess it was Bruce explains that Steve tapped that dancer or whatever back in the day when he was like doing the those tours before he actually became legit Captain America during World War II. I think that's what they basically like got flushed out there that he lost. Yeah. So Cyber, to wrap up the episode and then getting into like I guess that whatever that is, big credit scene or whatever too, and the fans of that and the Steve Rogers stuff again, the Avengers stuff. What was your take, sir, on the entire trial scene? What did you think of Titania?
I mean, I thought it was good. I didn't have any qualms or problems with it. I know it was short-lived. I was expecting it to be simply for the fact that majority of the episode was her and her origin story. So I wasn't surprised by that at all. I thought it was a good way to end the episode, her having to turn into Hulk while she's turning. I think that's a great start to the series. And I thought the gal that played Titania, she did a good job in the scene. It'll be interesting to see what else she brings to the table. And I thought that, how it ended with her like saying, and now I'm ready to give my statement, was absolutely perfect. Perfect timing, perfectly done. And then going into the mid-credit scene when she's pretending, Jennifer's pretending to be drunk to get Bruce to tell her if Captain America is a virgin or not, was absolutely hilarious. And he actually finally break it down and saying, yes, it was with a chorus girl while he was on the tour. And it cracks me up. I'm like, wow, like that's hilarious. And then how it ends with her all of a sudden. I knew that was absolutely hilarious, and they cut her off before she could swear. I think that was perfect. But yeah, really great mid-credit scene. A lot of people I heard thought that they were actually going to get to see Steve Rogers in that mid-credit scene. But unfortunately, that's not what happened. But still was a decent mid-credit scene that was funny, giving us that answer to that question. But overall, really great ending, and just overall a really great episode.
Jasmine, your thoughts?
I agree with him. I also have my issues with it because I still don't believe that Steve Rogers slept with some random person when they spent so much time trying to force the Peggy and Steve relationship down our throat throughout all these films. And I mean, even got to the point where he was trying to get down with, her daughter. Like, ew. I don't see it. I don't see that happening. But I did think it was cute though that they had her do that. I was like, that's here. And mid-credit scene for something as silly as this episode was. It was silly. It was fun. And Titania looked amazing. Like, amazing. It was definitely nice to see her. I did feel like it was short-lived because she went from throwing a desk to being underneath it to somehow flying through the air already. It just felt like the math wasn't mathing. Or like, how did she get from under there and in the air in a fraction? Like, come on, she had to throw that off, and it had to hit somebody. Like, come on.
Yeah, you know what? She kind of like handled her business with her really quick, and I mean, I'm looking at like Marvel.com right now, and I'm looking at Titania's bio, and her power level is pretty high. Like, she's like, they have her listed as like a 6.57 in strength and power and whatnot as a character. So like, Titania can throw down. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like she's no joke.
I feel like she was caught off guard though.
I'm wondering why the hell she was even there. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's kind of.
I have a theory about that.
Oh, of course.
My theory is she was hired by the lawyers that are eventually going to hire She-Hulk.
Okay. I see what you're saying. So before I close out the review and essentially just really quick sort of dip into what I talked about earlier as far as these rumors with Mark Ruffalo's Hulk staying in the MCU, or studios potentially maybe having the film rights to the Hulk. Might get some films still for Mark Ruffalo's Hulk, in the MCU. Final thoughts, Jasmine, on the whole episode from start to finish. Anything you like, you didn't mention it, you want to put out there. Anything you didn't like? Any thoughts? Any thoughts on episode 2? Any thoughts on episode 2 at all?
I like everything. I honestly don't know what I'm expecting for episode 2 other than she's probably going to end up prosecuting or defending the girl who just barged into Titania, barging into the courtroom. She's either going to be prosecuting or defending her. That's my opinion. I feel like she was hired by the people that she was prosecuting to take her out in order so that they could win the court because they were losing. They were clearly losing.
Oh no, I understand. I get your premise. Was there anything that we didn't necessarily maybe touch on that popped out to you during the episode and whatnot that caught your eye or anything whatnot? Did we pretty much cover most of what was, I guess, the highlights?
I liked how they blended in a little bit of man versus woman experiences without throwing it in your face in a way of having it more about politics. That was like my one thing I loved the most about it.
It wasn't obtrusive.
Yeah, it was very much like a callback to her situation when she was getting catcalled. Explains how she handles stress.
No, I get where you're coming from. I like you pointed out that. Cyberneticshark, do you have any final thoughts on the episode at all? As we move on and prepare for next week and dive into episode 2, which could be very interesting. Maybe we'll get to see the Oblonsky for the first time. That'll be interesting. What'd you think of is there anything you want to add based off episode 1?
I just want to say overall, I think it was a great introduction to the series, a great pilot episode, great premiere. I really enjoyed it. I watched it twice. I laughed my butt off each time. Loved every inch of this episode. Even though it was 37 minutes long, yes, I would like to have seen it be a little longer, maybe explain a few things a little longer. But overall, I thought they did a really good job, and I give it a 10. And I'm looking forward to seeing what episode 2 brings. And hopefully, we'll get another good cameo in the next episode, and that we'll see some familiar faces as well.
Yeah, you know what? I'll tell you. I'm not really sure what to expect from episode 2 at this point. We'll have to see, but I will tell you that in terms of episode 1 and the review aspect of the show, I think we're pretty much done. I just want to move on and kind of just do like a final, like a wrap up, kind of mini segment really quick, and just sort of just, I guess, flush out and get you guys' opinion on the fact that pretty much all of the major publications and everything and whatnot online for days have been rumoring and sort of like quasi confirming that basically in some way Marvel Studios may have obtained the film rights finally to the Hulk, from Universal, to where they can actually make Hulk solo films and whatnot, and Universal won't bank off of them and like take all of the majority of the profits off of the film, which was the dichotomy that was the problem in the past. At this point, it's being rumored that there's no, there's nothing official here. Cyber already mentioned it earlier. There may already be a contract in play. and Ruffalo he may have already signed for like a 3 or 4 appearance or 5 appearance type deal already to stay in the MCU and kind of close out his chapter. So go back to you, Cyber. I'm not going to go crazy with this. I've got 2 of the articles pulled up. They're very simple. The numbers part and like the whole contractual aspect is kind of boring, to tell you the truth. But like in terms of just the premise that, hey, if we do end up with something like that working out to where we actually get an Incredible Hulk 2 or something like that, whatever you want to call it, I guess. What do you think about all that?
I mean, overall, I think that we will be seeing, like I said, more Hulk. I definitely think there is a deal already in play. Usually when Marvel picks any person to be a part of the MCU, they sign on to a contract for so many films, no matter what. There are very few and far between actual people that get a 1 movie contract. That's very few and far between. So like when the whole thing with Oscar Isaac and Moon Knight happened, and people were saying, "Oh, he says it's just a one-off. It's just gonna be that." Yeah, right. Whenever MCU does a contract with anybody or makes a movie with anybody, it's for several projects. It could be 2 down the road. It could be 3 down the road. It could be 1 down the road. They always make some sort of contract. So I think when when Ruffalo was brought on to do She-Hulk, he started a new contract to include She-Hulk with some other things. And right around that time, when they were saying that they were going to make in the She-Hulk series, is when Universal was losing their rights to the Hulk because they did not renew them. And so there was a lot of articles going out, and even Marvel said themselves that, yes, the rights to the Hulk have now reverted back to Marvel. And so they have the rights. They just haven't publicly said, "Oh, we have the full rights," because they don't want people going crazy and saying, "Oh, where's our solo Hulk film?" That's just how Marvel is. That's why they keep things so hush-hush when these people get hired on for several projects. Some of them they allow to say, others they don't, because they want it to be secret so that when they do pop it, it's like a huge surprise. And that's how I feel they do all their dealings with. So this whole Hulk thing, I 100% pretty sure that it's already done and ready to go. Just we're waiting to see the final product.
I know exactly what you're talking about, Cyber. I read that same stuff and heard that. I know where you're talking about, where it came from. What do you think, Jasmine? I mean, how do you feel about, what would it do for you to actually see, Mark Ruffalo's Hulk stick around in the MCU?
Honestly, I'm excited. I'm not surprised because I did know about the rights already reverting back. The moment I saw She-Hulk having a TV series, I was like, we already know what's happening. Because they don't have rights to all the Hulks because they're still considered Hulk property. It's kind of like Spider-Man. Unless you have a license, agreement, you can't really use them. So I kind of already knew that it reverted back, but I'm actually quite excited for anything that has to do with Mark Ruffalo because we haven't really gotten much from him other than him appearing as kind of a cameo character or a guest star in other films. And it'd be nice to flesh out some situations he's been in, kind of like Sakaar, where now that he's merged his mind with Hulk, we can learn some more stuff of what's happened between those 2 years with Hulk while he was on Sakaar, because he didn't really explain that. He just kind of was like puny human or Asgardian or whatever.
Yes, and I think it's very poignant to point out that we just did our review of Red Route the other night, and I think that Bruce Banner, Mark Ruffalo's Hulk was extremely impactful in that film. He really was. It was a very big addition to the film. Great piece. And what do you think, Jasmine? do you think it's possible that we actually end up seeing Bruce Banner's Hulk stick around for the Avengers films, or is he going to be gone by then?
Oh no, he's sticking around because I know that they're currently working on West Coast Avengers. That's kind of why they have She-Hulk in California. So I very well know that they're definitely keeping him around. Even if it's not for West Coast, it's probably going to be for some Avengers film as like a mentor or situation, kind of like Red Tornado in the DC comics when it came to the Young Justice or whatever.
So you want to see the West Coast Avengers in the MCU?
Oh yeah, we already know it's coming because that's why Vision is here. He actually is part of the West Coast Avengers, so we already see it coming.
Several of the Avengers are on the West Coast Avengers. Moon Knight's on the West Coast Avengers, so She-Hulk.
No, I don't know. I think
Those War Machine.
No, actually, Moon Knight is actually a street level.
No, I know who he is. Yeah, but he's an Avenger. No, but no.
Street level.
No, I think that's funny that you like the West Coast Avengers. That you are, I haven't heard that they're actually in production of any kind of anything like that. But I would love it if they did it. If they do it, I really hope that, like I've said before, if they do it, I really hope that they bring Hawkeye back and War Machine and have them lead the team. That'd be fucking awesome. But Cyber, what do you think? Last question to wrap things up. Do you think we'll get? I mean, you think we'll get the Hulk still in the? I think he'll be around the Avengers. What kind of role, if he is around, what kind of role do you think he'll play?
I mean, I definitely think he'll be in the 2 Avenger films that will be coming out in 2025. I think that this is leading up to both of those situations might lead to World War Hulk, especially with Kang coming into play. I think Kang is going to use the Hulk to some advantage at some point. And I think that's going to lead along with Secret Wars as well. I think that this is all leading up to that because just like Jasmine has said, there's so many little bits and pieces of World War Hulk that they've been using in other films to, and, kind of like putting the pieces or putting the crumbles for you to follow that trail, that there eventually it's going to lead to that. We don't know when, we don't know how, but we do know that it's coming at some point, just like what they've done with any of these different characters. I mean, if you recall, in previous films, there's been mention of She-Hulk. In previous films, there's been talk of White Vision. There's in, previous things we've heard, rumors of Ant-Man and Wasp and stuff like that before we even got those characters. So each little cookie crumble is moving its way closer to those characters. And so when you see them starting to drop that so many different ways and different things, eventually it's coming. It's just, Marvel is teasing us with those crumbles so that we get so enticed that by the time it comes, we're like ecstatic that it comes about. And that's just how Marvel works. And so definitely, I definitely see the West Coast Avengers happening eventually. I don't know if it's going to be by the, these 2 Avenger films. It could be, but who knows? We could get, these Avengers, who knows? It could be Captain Marvel along with War Machine, Hulk, maybe White Vision or some other character variation. Who knows? But at the same time, it really doesn't matter. By the time we get to it, we're going to be happy with whatever we get because they're more Avenger films. So, it'll be nice to just get these other Avenger films after, getting such 2 great climatic Avenger films with Infinity War and Endgame. It'll be interesting just to see what the next 2 bring.
I'll pay to see any of the Avengers just wash their fucking hair. You know what I'm saying? That's it. I'll pay for that shit. You know what I'm saying? That's it. That's how good they are. So yeah, I feel you on that. I get what you're saying, both of you. We're not gonna get this. Professor Hulk is not gonna be around at that point. He's gonna be back to Hulk by then. It's not like Worldbreaker Hulk, like real Hulk. You know what I mean? Not Infinity War Hulk or whatever. But no, bottom line, great show, guys. We go on and on, but for once, I'm gonna try to be more like Cyber and be very concise and very efficient with our show and not overdo it. Because of course there's all this stuff going on right now in the MCU. There always is to talk about. But I'm gonna hold it in, keep it together, and just go around real quick and start with you, Jasmine. As we wrap things up and kind of exit our way out, and look forward to episode 2 of She-Hulk. Please, click the plug anything. Talk about your YouTube channel at all. You want to shout out anybody?
Yeah, if anybody wants to come to my channel, my YouTube channel is the letter U, 2 now 03.
I'll link it.
I do a lot of different reactions. I'm gonna start creating it, and I might start doing some gaming on there. So be prepared.
And you're gonna do some gaming reactions with me, right?
Yes.
Hell yeah! I hope you can handle it. I'm telling you right now, Batman will jack you up. No, I'm just joking. So what's up? What's good? Do you have anybody to plug? You want to plug anything else? Do you have anybody to shout out or anything? Or do you have any potentially interesting, premonitions? Any dirt? From the MCU perspective,
I do know that we're supposed to be seeing Jessica Jones soon.
Well, hey, you know what? I hope so.
So be prepared for that. And I believe they're recasting Iron Fist and Cage.
Well, that would make sense that they would recast Iron Fist. I don't know why they would recast Luke Cage, but then again,
he said he was very happy with where his show ended. So
yeah, we keep hearing these consistent rumors that even Kevin Feige wants the Defenders back in the MCU potentially, which I'd like to see. But thank you very much, Jasmine, for coming up doing the review with us and whatnot and everything. Like I was telling you earlier in the studio, honestly, to tell you the truth, if you look back at our videography on YouTube or whatever views, this is a very small show for me and Cyber. Like usually we do have pretty big panels on our review shows and whatnot and everything. So we ended up with kind of a unique night where it just ended up working out to where it was us three. And I'm glad it worked out that way, right? Because it gave you a chance to really express yourself and kind of, your thing. You know what I mean? And we're happy to have you join the team and and rock with us and whatnot and grind out a Disney Plus episode review show with us. Cover some She-Hulk. It was fun. We really appreciate you. I hope you'll come back and do more episodes with us. And we'd love that. That'd be great. There's nothing like having some consistency in terms of going across 8 episodes and maybe be able to, to mix you in here and there, and kind of stick with it a little bit, as we go through the whole series. But thank you. I genuinely appreciate it.
You're welcome. And I'll be here anytime you want me.
That's awesome. I love to hear that. And I love that energy and that love for Marvel. It's great. Cyberneticshark, my friend. Now that you're an actor and you're on IMDb and all that shit and everything and whatnot, are you have you potentially been nominated for an Academy Awards the last time I saw you, possibly, or for one of your TikTok videos, or
No Academy Awards yet. Sorry, no. Or a Golden Globe.
You haven't reached Frankie Cordero status yet?
No. Because it's just the beginning, sir. You got to be patient. You
You need some of those shirtless pics like he's got on his profile, his acting profile.
Oh yeah. No. See, that to me just shows that he's just more about his looks than his talent. You got to be more proper and more sophisticated. So
I think he secretly just wants to do gay porn.
Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, Cyber, please tell us. And of course, I will make an effort along with Jasmine to go ahead and show that I got some links for your personal, your private, and your actual individual, content, at least your YouTube channel, possibly, maybe. But folks, just so you know, Cyberneticshark is very ubiquitous in the fact that you can basically go from platform to platform and just throw in Cyberneticshark up in the query, and you'll find Cyber. So you'll go bounce off that, Cyber, in terms of your content and whatnot and everything, and the fact that shout out, folks. What are we at? Are we almost the 1.5 year mark? The MCU's bleeding edge. Did we come to that determination?
We're over 1.5 years, sir.
Well, there you go. You know what? Happy, happy past 1.5 year birthday The Insider, the MCU's Bleeding Edge. Jasmine, look at this wonderful moment you guys experienced with us. You know, a Bleeding Edge year-and-a-half birthday plus special, right? It feels great, baby. Monetized, almost 2 years old. Damn, I'm telling you. But anyway, Cyber, please, enlighten us and tell us all about your individual content, anything interesting going on. You know, usual routine.
All right. So yeah, if you enjoy seeing me here on the MCU's Bleeding Edge, like I always say, definitely check out my other content, which you can find on TikTok, Rizzle, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, you know, anywhere you pretty much Instagram, you'll find it. If you just type in Cyberneticshark, you'll find me. On my YouTube, I do all kinds of different stuff. I do reviews, trailer reactions. I do some series that I've made. I just recently started doing a music video series. I also do impressions and all that kind of good stuff. So if you like that kind of stuff, definitely check it out. My videos are very unique. I try to make myself different from the rest of the reviewers out there. I add in a little information for you guys, give you some other movies that you can look at that these artists have been in or directed to check out too as well, and all that kind of good stuff. And yeah, I will be in an upcoming movie called Pay to Die, which will be out sometime soon. I will be doing my my scene very soon, and that'll be up soon. But yeah, once I have more information about when it'll actually be out and stuff, you guys will know. But yeah, you can check my stuff out, my solo stuff out if you like. If you don't, no big deal. It's all good. And yeah, we thank you for watching, and we appreciate you guys.
Hell yeah. You know what? I want to shout out Rumble. You know what? I mean, honestly, we're loving it out there.
And StreamYard.
Yeah, StreamYard. Hey, StreamYard. Thank you very much, StreamYard. You know, you guys are being great. Great platform. You know, hats off to StreamYard. So many creators we've met, you know, on StreamYard. They've come on our shows and ended up getting StreamYard a week later or a month later or whatnot, you know, and I wish we would have been affiliate status at that point. So we could have made some coinage off that shit real quick. Would have been nice. But it's okay. It's all right, you know. We're very humbled here, the Bleeding Edge. And overall, I just want to say that again, you know, we love the fandom. Whatever, you know, whatever you're into and whatnot, you know, whatever part or whatever group or whatever, you know, niche, or whether you're Star Wars or DC or Marvel and whatnot, you're all our people. You know, and at the end of the day, we at the MCU's Bleeding Edge are not for kids, for adults, and it makes us very unique. And at the end of the day, you know, we're very happy and blessed to have all the support we get. You know, we love the success that we have, and we get to meet wonderful people like Jasmine all the time and whatnot, which is great. It makes the whole content creation experience so wonderful and like enlightening. And, you know, honestly, Jasmine, I'm glad we had you on again, hon. You know, it was fun. And
yeah, thank you.
I want to shout out really quick, Podcast of Champions. We'll have Renee back for episode 2. And I want to shout out Andrew for not coming on, you son of a bitch. You told me you were coming on, you didn't show up. So you know what? I'm gonna have some words for you. Either way though, hey, you know, I wish all of you a wonderful evening and a wonderful weekend. For a minute, I almost forgot that it was Friday. I thought it was Wednesday for a second. And again, I want to just really quick show love to all the platforms we're on and whatnot. Facebook Live, Rumble, Twitter. We actually get some stats on there. Twitch. You know, we appreciate all the people who support us on those platforms. And hey, we'll see you on Sunday. I believe that I'll be doing the Sunday show at, I think, 6 p.m. Eastern. So there you go. So what I'll be doing, it might be interesting. Probably will be interesting. Maybe pulling some sex toys out or some shit, or who the hell knows, man. It could be crazy. Shout out really quick. You don't know what we're doing yet, Cyber. We're going to be at Podcast Odyssey with JRN 2000 and Renee, Loki's mom from Podcast of Champions, to do another one of our movie review series with Joey, JRN 2000, on Monday evening. I'm waiting in anticipation for our film. And you can check us out on there, where Cyber and I actually guest together. And we're not co-hosts. We're just like peasants. you know, on Joey's show. It's great. It's a lot of fun. We did Mad Max last week. We did Alien the week before, and it was bomb. It was a good ass. It was fun. We're having a good time on there. We did Total Recall before that. Awesome movie, man. Anyway, shout out to everybody out there in the MCU's Bleeding Edge world. And hey, peace out, folks. We'll see you next time.
Every day of the week. If I hop up on the mic, they gon' play it on repeat. Cash 100 milli check, I get paid just to breathe. Kill it 24/7, cause I slay in my sleep. Flames pipe down when I enter in the convo.